while also being a philosopher king. This was the reality for Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic Emperor of Rome. Born on April 26, 121 AD, Marcus was groomed for greatness from a young age. Adopted by his uncle, Emperor Antoninus Pius, he received the finest education in rhetoric, law and philosophy. It was this early exposure to Stoic thought that shaped his reign and legacy. As emperor from 161 to 180 AD, Marcus Aurelius faced numerous challenges, particularly on the military front. The Marcomannic Wars were a constant threat, but his strategic acumen and resilience kept the empire intact. Internally, he focused on administrative reforms, aiming to improve efficiency and justice throughout the empire. His leadership was marked by a profound sense of duty and responsibility to his people. But Marcus Aurelius was more than just an effective ruler. His personal writings, known as the Meditations, offer a deep dive into his Stoic philosophy. Written in Greek during his military campaigns, these reflections explore duty, virtue, and the nature of existence. Key themes include life's impermanence, the importance of rationality, and the value of self-discipline. He teaches us to maintain inner peace, regardless of external chaos. Despite his philosophical inclinations, Marcus was not detached from reality. He dealt with economic challenges, natural disasters, and plagues, balancing contemplation with effective governance. His reign ended on March 17, 180 AD, marking the close of the Pax Romana. His son Commodus succeeded him, but failed to match his father's legacy. Marcus Aurelius's Meditations continues to inspire and guide those seeking wisdom. His life exemplifies Stoic virtues and serves as a model for rulers and leaders throughout history. A philosopher, a warrior, a ruler, Marcus Aurelius remains one of Rome's greatest emperors. Thanks for joining me on this journey into the life of the Stoic Emperor.
None could predict the chaos that would ensue in 180 AD when Commodus ascended to the throne. The son of Marcus Aurelius, he took Rome by storm and nearly brought it to its knees. Commodus, born Lucius Aurelius Commodus, ruled Rome from 180 to 192 AD. Unlike his father, Marcus Aurelius, a philosopher king, Commodus was obsessed with personal glory. He donned Hercules' garb and demanded godlike adoration. He shirked his duties, handing power to corrupt favorites and indulging in lavish banquets and gladiatorial games. Fear and paranoia marked his reign, leading to purges and instability. His rule ended violently on December 31, 192 AD, when a conspiracy led by his closest allies resulted in his assassination. Commodus's death plunged Rome into chaos, marking the start of the empire's decline. A dramatic reign, a turbulent legacy, Commodus remains a cautionary tale of absolute power gone awry. The world of ancient Roman medicine. The Roman Empire, known for its grand architecture and powerful military, also made groundbreaking strides in the field of medicine. So let's unravel these ancient secrets. First off, the Romans were heavily influenced by Greek medicine. Ever heard of Hippocrates, the father of medicine? He laid the foundation for understanding diseases as natural phenomena. Then there's Galen, whose extensive writings on anatomy and physiology guided Roman medical practices for centuries. He even served as a physician to several Roman emperors. But the Romans didn't stop at Greek influences. They also borrowed from Egyptian practices, renowned for advanced surgeries and medicinal herbs. Imagine blending the best of Greek, Egyptian, and their own innovations. Speaking of innovations, Roman surgeons were pretty advanced for their time. They performed surgeries like trepanation, drilling holes into the skull to relieve pressure, cataract removal, and even bladder stone extractions. Their surgical tools, made from bronze and iron, would look surprisingly familiar to modern eyes. Herbal remedies were another cornerstone of Roman medicine. They used garlic for heart health, willow as a pain reliever similar to aspirin, and opium poppies for pain relief. Imagine treating ailments with medicinal wines and concoctions. Roman military medicine was also top-notch. They established military hospitals, or valetudinaria, to care for wounded soldiers. Their surgeons developed efficient triage systems and were skilled in amputations and wound care. Public health was a big deal in Rome. They built extensive aqueduct systems to supply clean water and constructed public baths, not just for socializing, but also for hygiene. The Cloaca Maxima, one of the world's earliest sewage systems, helped keep Rome clean by draining waste into the Tiber River. Romans also implemented public health measures like quarantining the sick and maintaining clean streets. They had laws regulating medical practice and the sale of medicines to prevent quackery. Medical education in Rome was hands-on, often through apprenticeships. Centres like Alexandria and Constantinople became hubs for medical learning, continuing Greek and Roman traditions. Texts by Hippocrates, Galen and Dioscorides were extensively studied and copied. Despite their advances, Romans still held on to some superstitions. They believed in the healing powers of gods like Aesculapius and often used amulets, charms and incantations to ward off illness. In conclusion, Roman medicine was a fascinating blend of practical knowledge, public health innovations and religious beliefs. Their contributions laid critical groundwork for future medical advancements, leaving a lasting legacy. So, the next time you think about ancient Rome, remember, it wasn't just about gladiators and emperors. It was also about pioneering medical practices that have shaped our world. What I wish I knew in high school, Roman laws are the backbone of modern legal systems. Yep, those toga-wearing folks knew their stuff. Roman law is the granddaddy of today's legal systems. It all started around 450 BC with the 12 tables, a set of laws etched on bronze tablets for all to see. These covered everything from property rights to family law. As Rome grew, so did its laws. They had the ius civile for citizens and the ius gentium for dealings with foreigners. Pretty forward-thinking, huh? Praetors, or judicial officials, kept the system flexible by issuing edicts that evolved with the times. Fast forward to the Principate period, where legal minds like Gaius laid down foundational texts that influenced law for centuries. Then came the Codex Justinianus in the 6th century. This code became the bedrock of European civil law. From equality before the law to presumption of innocence, many principles we take for granted today sprouted from Roman roots. So next time you think of justice, tip your hat to the Romans. They paved the way.
Ever wonder why salt was once worth its weight in gold in ancient Rome? Let's dive into the salty details and uncover the fascinating history of this essential mineral. First off, salt wasn't just a simple seasoning for the Romans. It was a lifeline. In a world without refrigeration, salt was crucial for preserving food. Imagine trying to feed an army on a long campaign without the ability to keep meat or fish from spoiling. Salt made it possible to store these perishables for months, if not years, ensuring a steady food supply for both civilians and soldiers. That's why it was often called white gold. The Roman economy was deeply tied to salt. The state controlled its production and distribution, keeping a tight grip on this precious resource. They even built one of their oldest roads, the Via Salaria, specifically for transporting salt from the coast to Rome. This control was essential for maintaining Rome's power and stability. Beyond its economic value, salt had significant health benefits. Romans used it for medicinal purposes like treating wounds and various ailments thanks to its antiseptic properties. It was also a staple in their religious practices. Salt symbolized purity and preservation, and it was a key element in rituals and offerings to the gods. The phrase cum grano salis, or with a grain of salt, comes from the belief that salt could protect against evil spirits and bad luck. Military logistics also relied heavily on salt. Roman soldiers' diets included salted foods, which were crucial for long campaigns where fresh provisions were scarce. This ensured that armies could march vast distances and remain effective. The word salary actually has its roots in the Latin word salarium. While soldiers weren't literally paid in salt, the term reflects its value. They received a stipend to cover the cost of purchasing salt, which eventually evolved into a regular monetary payment. The trade of salt was another cornerstone of the Roman economy. Salt was produced locally and imported from other regions, with the state imposing taxes and tariffs to generate revenue. This money helped fund public works and military expenditures. Salt's value also influenced social status. Wealthy Romans often showcased their affluence through the quantity and quality of salt they possessed. Exotic salts from places like Egypt or the Black Sea were considered luxurious and highly prized by the elite. But it wasn't just salt. Other spices like pepper, cumin, coriander and saffron were also highly sought after. Coming from distant lands like India, Arabia and North Africa. These spices commanded high prices and were part of extensive trade networks that stretched across Europe, Asia and Africa. This trade not only enriched Rome but also connected it to a broader world. In conclusion, salt's importance in ancient Rome cannot be overstated. It was a cornerstone of the economy, a crucial element in military logistics and a symbol of health and purity. The word salary reminds us of its historical significance. Alongside other prized spices, salt played a pivotal role in shaping Roman trade, culture and daily life. So next time you sprinkle some salt on your meal, remember its rich history and the profound impact. Everyone's heard of Rome's grandeur, but wait until you hear these secrets. Hold on tight. Imagine the Colosseum, 80,000 roaring spectators and secret underground passageways for gladiators and wild beasts. Talk about dramatic entrances. Then there's Pompeii and Herculaneum, frozen in time by Vesuvius's wrath. Frescoes, mosaics and daily life snapshots preserved for centuries. It's like stepping into a Roman soap opera. The Roman Forum, the epicenter of political drama, where temples and basilicas whisper tales of power and piety. And let's not forget Hadrian's Villa, a retreat fit for an emperor with architectural wonders that scream opulence. Beneath Rome's streets, the catacombs reveal early Christian secrets, while the Pantheon's iconic dome still wows with its engineering genius. And the baths of Caracalla, think ancient spa day with mosaics and marble galore. From aqueducts to the lavish House of the Faun, every discovery peels back a layer of the eternal city's mystique. So next time you stroll through Rome, remember, you're walking on secrets.
Into the daily life of ancient Romans, let's take a quick journey through the heart of one of history's most influential civilizations. First up, social structure. Roman society was split into patricians and plebeians. Patricians, the aristocrats, lived in lavish domus with atriums and gardens. Meanwhile, plebeians, the common folks, stayed in insulae, multi-story apartment buildings. Life in these insulae could be pretty crowded and less sanitary, especially higher up. Now let's talk about daily routines. Romans started their day early. Men headed to the forum to conduct business or socialize. Women, especially in wealthier households, managed domestic affairs and supervised slaves. Education was key. Boys from affluent families studied subjects like rhetoric and philosophy, while girls learned domestic skills at home. When it came to meals, breakfast was simple: bread, cheese, and fruit. Lunch was often leftovers, but dinner, that was the main event. Wealthy Romans enjoyed elaborate feasts with multiple courses, turning meals into social gatherings. Entertainment was a big deal too. Public baths, like the Thermae, were social hubs, complete with gyms and libraries. Romans loved theatre, chariot races and gladiatorial games, often held in grand venues like the Colosseum and Circus Maximus. Religion played a central role in daily life. Romans worshipped a pantheon of gods with household shrines for family deities. Festivals, rituals and sacrifices were common. And let's not forget the bustling markets. Shopping was a daily activity, especially for fresh produce. Trade was thriving, with goods flowing in from across the empire. Education and literacy were highly valued. Boys attended schools to learn reading, writing, and rhetoric. Libraries, both public and private, were common among the elite. In terms of fashion, togas and tunics were standard. Personal grooming was important too, with perfumes, cosmetics, and elaborate hairstyles being popular. So there you have it. Life in ancient Rome was a blend of structured routines, vibrant public life, and rich cultural traditions. Their legacy continues to influence us today. Thanks. How did ancient Rome become an empire that spanned 3 continents? Spoiler: trade routes. At its height, the Roman Empire was a web of territories connected by intricate trade routes. The Mediterranean Sea, or Mare Nostrum, was the heartbeat of Roman trade, linking Europe, Africa, and Asia. From Egypt's grain to Chinese silk, goods flowed like water. But it wasn't just the sea. Overland routes like the Via Appia and the Via Egnatia were equally crucial. These roads transported troops, treasures, and travelers, knitting the empire together. Rivers like the Danube and the Rhine acted as natural highways, while the Silk Road connected Rome with distant China. The result? A bustling exchange of goods, ideas, and cultures that enriched the Roman world. Roman trade routes didn't just support an economy, they built an empire. And their legacy, it still shapes our world today. History's ultimate road trip, wouldn't you say? What's something people don't know about Flammer, the gladiator? He turned down freedom, not once, not twice, but 4 times. Flammer was no ordinary gladiator. Born in Syria, he entered the Roman arenas as a secutor, sword in hand, shield raised. He fought 34 times, claiming victory in 21 battles, drawing in 9 and losing just 4. His skill and popularity were so immense that he was offered the rudis, a wooden sword symbolizing freedom, 4 times. But each time, Flammer chose the thrill of combat over a life of peace. Why would anyone refuse freedom? Was it the roar of the crowd, the honor of the fight, or perhaps a deeper, unspoken commitment to the gladiatorial life? The details of his death remain a mystery, but one thing is clear. Flammer lived and died by the sword. His epitaph reads, "Flammer, secutor, delighted in battle," a legacy that refuses to fade. Hannibal Barca, the name alone sends chills down the spines of history buffs. Born in 247 BCE, Hannibal was destined for greatness. His father, Hannibal Barca, instilled a fierce hatred for Rome in him, a hatred that would shape the course of history. At the heart of Hannibal's legend is his audacious campaign during the Second Punic War. In 218 BCE, Hannibal did the unthinkable. He led his army, including war elephants, across the towering Alps. Imagine the peril, the extreme hardship, but Hannibal's leadership and genius shone through. His most celebrated victory, the Battle of Cannae, in 216 BCE. Employing a brilliant double envelopment maneuver, Hannibal annihilated a Roman army twice his size. Rome was left in shock, marking one of the darkest days in their military history. For over a decade, Hannibal waged relentless war on Italian soil. Winning battles, yes, but unable to secure that decisive victory. His strategy aimed to fracture Rome's alliances, but Rome's resilience was legendary. Then came the turning point. The Roman general, Scipio Africanus, turned the tide by invading Carthage. Hannibal had to rush back to defend his homeland. The decisive Battle of Zama in 202 BCE saw Hannibal's defeat, ending Carthage's power and cementing Rome's dominance in the Mediterranean. But Hannibal's legacy isn't just about his military prowess. His innovative tactics and psychological warfare forced Rome to adapt and evolve, shaping their future strategies. Despite his ultimate defeat, Hannibal remains a towering figure in military history. His life is a testament to strategic brilliance and relentless determination. Hannibal Barca, the greatest enemy of ancient Rome, continues to inspire and fascinate, embodying the timeless struggle between two great powers.
Hey, history buffs! Today, I'm diving into the brutal and glorious world of Roman gladiators. Buckle up, because their lives were a paradox of brutality and glory, hardship and fame. First off, let's talk origins and recruitment. Gladiators were a diverse bunch. Many were slaves or prisoners of war from all over the Roman Empire. Some were criminals tossed into the arena as punishment, but get this, some actually volunteered. Known as octorati, these thrill-seekers were after fame, fortune, or just the rush of combat. Now, once they were recruited, training began. Gladiators were trained in special schools called ludi. The most famous one, the Ludus Magnus in Rome, right next to the Colosseum. These schools were managed by Lanistae, who bought, trained, and maintained the fighters. Training was no joke: strength drills, combat practice, and mastering various weapons. Each gladiator had a specific fighting style. There were murmillo, heavily armed with a gladius and shield, retiarius, armed with a trident and net, and thraex, with a curved sword and small shield. Life in the ludus was tough, a mix of harsh discipline and constant supervision. Gladiators lived in barracks and followed strict training regimens. Surprisingly, their diet was healthy and protein-rich to keep them in top shape. And yes, they got medical care to ensure they were ready for the arena. Speaking of which, the arena was the highlight of a gladiator's life. The Colosseum in Rome was the grandest stage of all. These games, organized by editori, who were often wealthy individuals or politicians, drew thousands of spectators. Matches were carefully planned, pairing fighters with complementary styles for maximum entertainment. Battles could end in death or glory. A well-fought fight might win a gladiator the crowd's favor and missio or mercy, letting them live to fight another day. The best of the best achieved fame, wealth, and sometimes freedom. Despite their backgrounds, successful gladiators became celebrities. They were celebrated in art and literature, attracting fans from every social class. Their images appeared in mosaics, statues, and even graffiti, immortalizing their victories. But all good things come to an end. The decline of the gladiatorial games started in the late Roman Empire. The spread of Christianity, which opposed the bloodshed and changing political and social dynamics, led to their gradual abolition. The last known games were held in the 5th century AD. Today, gladiators remain symbols of courage, strength, and the brutal entertainments of ancient Rome. Their stories captivate us, highlighting the complex interplay of life and death, freedom and enslavement in Roman history. In the end, the life of a gladiator was one of constant danger and rigid discipline, yet it held the potential for glory and honor. Their legend lives on, a testament to the enduring allure of the arena and the men who fought within it.
I'm sure you've heard the news. The Roman Empire had its fair share of short-lived emperors. Let's uncover their fleeting reigns. First up, Otho Sueton. A friend of Nero, he took the throne after Galba's murder in 69 AD. His 95-day reign ended in suicide after a crushing defeat. Next, Hostilian. Son of Emperor Decius, his rule lasted 100 days in 251 AD before a deadly plague claimed his life. Then we have Balbinus and Pupienus. Co-emperors in 238 AD, their joint 99-day rule was cut short by assassination from their own Praetorian Guard. Pertinax, a senator turned emperor, aimed to restore order, but was killed by the Guard just 87 days into his reign in 193 AD. Didius Julianus, infamous for buying the throne in an auction, ruled for 66 days before being executed by Senate decree. Gordian II and his father Gordian I, who ruled together for just 22 days in 238 AD, met their end in battle and subsequent suicide. Rome's history is filled with power struggles and rapid downfalls. Who's next in the annals of fleeting fame? Stay tuned. Hey there, ancient Rome enthusiasts. Ever heard of Flammer? No? Well, buckle up, because his story is one for the ages. Flammer was no ordinary gladiator. He was a living legend. Born as a Syrian soldier, he was captured and thrust into the brutal world of gladiatorial combat. And let me tell you, he was a natural. With 34 victories, 4 draws, and only 9 defeats, Flammer's record was stellar. Now here's where it gets interesting. Flammer was awarded the rudis, a wooden sword symbolizing freedom, not once but 4 times. And he refused it, every single time. Why, you ask? Well, that's the enigma. Some say Flammer found his purpose in the arena, the fame, the honor, the financial rewards. It all made sense to stay. After all, being a celebrated gladiator was no small feat. It wasn't just about fighting, it was about identity, purpose, and possibly a sense of belonging. Flammer wasn't just adored by the fans, he was respected by his fellow gladiators too. His repeated refusals of freedom only added to his mystique, making him a hero in the eyes of the masses. Imagine the respect and camaraderie he enjoyed within that brutal world. And let's talk psychology for a moment. Living every day under the shadow of death, the adrenaline, the camaraderie, it's a bond few could understand. The societal position of a freed gladiator was precarious, often leading to a life of uncertainty. In the arena, Flammer's skills were revered, his status solid. Flammer's story isn't just about a man who fought in the arena, it's about the complex dynamics of power, freedom, and identity in ancient Rome. Gladiators were both slaves and superstars, a paradox that Flammer embodied perfectly. In the end, Flammer's legacy is one of unparalleled valor and resilience. His choice to remain a gladiator defies conventional narratives about slavery and freedom. It's a testament to the enduring flame of his legend, burning brightly even today. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more fascinating tales from ancient Rome. Ever wondered how long people lived in ancient Rome? Well, let's dive right in and unravel the mysteries of Roman life expectancy, from slaves to emperors. First up, the general population. The average life expectancy in ancient Rome was shockingly low by today's standards, estimated at around 25-30 years. But wait, this figure is a bit misleading. High infant mortality rates skewed the average. Many children didn't make it past their first few years. However, if you survived childhood, your chances of reaching your 50s or 60s were pretty decent. Now let's break it down by social class, starting with slaves. Slaves endured grueling labor, poor nutrition, and lived in inadequate conditions. As property, they had limited access to medical care. Their life expectancy often not exceeding 20, 30 years. Urban slaves had it a tad better than those in agriculture or mining, but not by much. Next up, the plebeians or common folk. These were the hard-working tradesmen, small business owners and farmers. With slightly better access to food and some community health care, plebeians could possibly reach their 40s or 50s, moving on to the equestrians and patricians, the wealthy citizens. They enjoyed higher standards of living, better nutrition, leisure and medical care. Their homes were more sanitary, reducing disease risk. Life expectancy here often into their 50s or 60s, some even longer. And finally, the emperors and high-ranking nobles. Living in luxury, they had the best food, medical care and sanitary conditions. They could live well into their 60s or 70s, but there's a catch. Political instability and constant assassination threats cut many lives short. Now let's talk factors. Infant mortality was a huge one. Many children didn't survive infancy due to disease, malnutrition and lack of medical knowledge. Then, there were diseases and epidemics. Malaria, tuberculosis and gastrointestinal illnesses were rampant. Epidemics like the Antonine Plague swept through, killing thousands. Nutrition and diet also played a big role. The wealthy enjoyed diverse diets, while the poor often subsisted on grains and legumes. Poor nutrition made the lower classes more susceptible to disease. And then there was medical knowledge. Roman medicine was advanced for its time, with surgeons performing complex procedures. Public health measures like aqueducts and sewers improved sanitation. But understanding of disease and hygiene was limited, mixing empirical knowledge with superstition. Lastly, social and occupational hazards. Many jobs, especially for the lower classes and slaves, were dangerous. And let's not forget the constant threat of political violence, especially for those in power. In conclusion, life expectancy in ancient Rome was a reflection of the stark social and economic divisions within the empire. The average lifespan may have been short, but significant variations existed based on class, occupation and resources. From slaves enduring harsh conditions to emperors enjoying luxury yet facing political peril, the fabric of Roman life was woven with both privilege and peril. At the zenith of its power, ancient Rome was the beating heart of a colossal empire. Imagine walking through a city teeming with over 1 million inhabitants, the largest metropolis of its time. Here, Roman citizens, slaves, freedmen and foreigners intermingled, creating a vibrant tapestry of life. The social structure was complex. Roman citizens enjoyed numerous privileges, while freedmen, former slaves who had earned their freedom, held a unique place in society. Slaves, integral to the economy, worked tirelessly in households, fields and public buildings. Rome's military might was unmatched. The disciplined, well-equipped legions were the backbone of the empire's expansion and defense. Veterans settled in the provinces, spreading Roman culture far and wide. Daily life in Rome was a blend of luxury and hardships. Monumental buildings like the Colosseum, the Pantheon and the Roman Forum stood as testaments to Rome's grandeur. The Colosseum, hosting thrilling gladiatorial games, captivated the masses, while the Forum buzzed with political activity. The city's infrastructure was advanced for its time. Aqueducts brought fresh water, and public baths like the baths of Caracalla were centers of social life. Temples dedicated to gods like Jupiter and Minerva dotted the city, underlining the deep connection between the state and religion. Rome's economy thrived on trade. Markets like the Forum Boarium bustled with merchants selling goods from across the empire. A vast network of roads and ports facilitated the movement of goods and people. Culturally, Rome was a beacon. It nurtured poets, historians and philosophers, contributing to a rich intellectual heritage. Education was prized, with young Romans studying subjects like rhetoric and law. But Rome faced challenges too. Political instability and economic troubles hinted at the struggles ahead. Overcrowding and sanitation issues plagued the city. Despite its decline, Rome's legacy endures. The remnants of its glorious past still stand, offering a glimpse into a world that shaped the course of history. Ancient Rome, with all its grandeur and glory, remains a testament to human achievement. Fascinating evolution of Roman residences. Imagine living in ancient Rome where your home was a clear indicator of your social status. First up, we have the slaves and servants. These poor souls lived in the ergastula, which were basic cramped quarters located in the basements of their masters' homes or in separate, rudimentary buildings. Picture this: media, basement rooms in ancient Roman buildings, simple ancient Roman structures, a tiny cell, maybe a straw bed and a simple wooden stool. Privacy, that was a luxury they rarely experienced. Next, let's move up a notch to the common Roman citizen, especially those in bustling cities like Rome. They lived in insulae, or apartment blocks. These multi-story buildings were made of brick or concrete, with several small apartments stacked on top of each other. The upper floors were less desirable, often rented by poorer residents, due to lack of ventilation and exposure to the elements. Here you'd find a basic hearth and shared communal facilities. Now, for the wealthier individuals, we have the domus. These private houses were usually found in the urban centre and featured a central atrium, an open space with an impluvium in the middle to collect rainwater. Rooms were arranged around this area, including dining rooms, private family areas, and guest rooms. The walls were adorned with beautiful frescoes and intricate mosaics, showcasing the owner's wealth and taste. For those with even more wealth, the villa was the ideal residence. These large rural estates included expansive gardens, bathhouses, and even private temples. Designed for both comfort and leisure, villas reflected the owner's status, with additional spaces for farming and entertainment. The layout was similar to a domus, but on a much grander scale. Finally, at the height of Roman residential architecture, we have the imperial palaces, or palatium. The most famous example is Emperor Nero's Domus Aurea, which featured vast gardens, artificial lakes, and grand halls. These palaces were architectural marvels and symbols of imperial power. Elaborate frescoes, intricate mosaic floors, and expansive courtyards demonstrated the opulence and sophistication of the emperor's lifestyle. From the modest insulae and ergastula to the magnificent palaces, the diversity of Roman housing vividly illustrates the social stratification of Roman society. It offers a unique window into the daily lives and values of ancient Romans. Thanks for watching. Into one of the most infamous reigns in Roman history, that of Commodus, the emperor who many believe marked the beginning of Rome's decline. So buckle up and let's explore the fascinating, controversial, and chaotic reign of Commodus. Commodus, born Lucius Aurelius Commodus on August 31st, 161 AD, became the Roman emperor in 180 AD, succeeding his father, the philosopher king Marcus Aurelius. Unlike his father, Commodus had little interest in the traditional duties of an emperor. Instead, he craved personal glory and viewed himself as a godlike figure, even fancying himself the reincarnation of Hercules. Imagine the scandal when he appeared in public dressed as the mythical hero and even fought in gladiatorial combats. Yes, you heard that right, an emperor in the arena. But his obsession with heroics didn't stop there. Commodus demanded that the Senate officially recognize him as Hercules and erect statues of him throughout the empire. This wasn't just vanity, it was a sign of his departure from the stable philosophical governance of his father. When it came to governance, Commodus preferred to delegate, but not to the most trustworthy individuals. His administration was plagued by mismanagement and corruption, thanks to a series of unscrupulous favorites and freedmen who exploited their positions. Senators and high-ranking officials lived in fear as Commodus was quick to execute anyone he suspected of conspiracy. This created a toxic atmosphere of fear and instability among the Roman elite. Despite his administrative neglect, Commodus did engage in some public works projects. He completed the construction of the Colosseum and initiated several building projects in Rome, including a district named Commodiana in his honor. However, these achievements were overshadowed by his excessive spending on games and spectacles, which drained the imperial treasury. Behind the scenes, Commodus's private life was filled with excess and debauchery. Lavish banquets, indulgence in food and drink, and scandalous relationships were his norm. His paranoia about plots against his life only added to the chaos. He trusted few people, relying heavily on his mistress Marcia and his chamberlain Eclectus, both of whom held significant sway over imperial decisions. Commodus's reign came to a dramatic end on December 31st, 192 AD. A conspiracy involving Marcia, Eclectus, and the head of the Praetorian Guard, Quintus Aemilius Laetus, led to his assassination. After an initial attempt to poison him failed, Commodus was strangled to death by his wrestling partner Narcissus. Talk about a dramatic exit. His death marked the end of the Nerva-Antonine dynasty and the start of a period of turmoil and civil war, known as the Year of the Five Emperors. Commodus's reign is often cited as the start of Rome's decline, highlighting the dangers of autocratic rule and the necessity of capable leadership. So, there you have it, the infamous reign of Commodus, a tale of grandeur, corruption, paranoia, and ultimately a violent end. A reminder of how a single ruler can alter the fate of an entire empire. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep exploring the past to understand the present.